with the... Oh, there it goes. I'm not going to go stand next to some rich person's house and rich person's car and pretend I'm a rich person to impress you and get you to listen to me. I live in a fucking shit pit. Okay, so I'm not even sure if this thing is working. It seems to be spotty and splotchy. And when my phone died, I got 50 messages, literally 50 messages in my YouTube or in my Facebook all at the same time. I turned it on, it said there's 50 messages. Well, that's a hell of a backlog. So I guess there might be some of those people that I told to message me that did message me and it just didn't get to me. I don't get why it does that. Most of the people that I talk to, they tell me that in that recording with him, you get to hear him saying that. It's pretty entertaining. It's the FBI. Makes him sound crazy, don't it? Clear as saying stuff like that. I mean, it might be true. I'm saying it. I'm not going to say it's not possible. I mean, they were involved in assisting my predators in law enforcement and the Bollingers in getting away with their crimes. So, you know, they've got plenty of motive to do such a thing. Suggest that it was the FBI, well, yeah, it's definitely a possibility, but I'm not going to say that. It'd make me sound crazy. With as damn near impossible as it is to get the body cameras from these fucking porkers, yeah, it's probably about 100,000 times more difficult to get it from the FBI. You really think that the FBI is going to release evidence that the FBI is stalking a disabled person who's trying to turn in FBI agents who assisted multiple predators, including child molesters and rapists and murderers, in getting away? Well, you know, there's about that. So I'm not saying that what Zach is claiming, that it's the FBI is the reason that I got these issues. I'm not saying that's not a possibility. Hell, it could, because of the situation, be a probability. But being as damn near impossible as it would be to get the evidence from them that shows that, they can just claim it doesn't exist. It's not like I have the power to sign a warrant and have them give it to. Pulling their tactics. Problem is, that's a little more illegal than I'm willing to go. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll spend the rest of my life in prison to keep people safe, but signing a warrant, forging a signature, well, that's just a bad idea. Now let's get to Wendell Mcphees 22. I told you all that I was fixing people's guns, and I'm going to tell you about some of my customers. One of my customers was Wendell McPhee. He was pretty insistent, actually. I didn't want to shoot his gun, but he was pretty insistent that I take his 22 out. He had the barrel relined, so he wanted to make sure it was shooting straight. Well, it shoots straight. I went out and I took it shooting. That was after all the situation with Natalie Bollinger. That was after, well, the situation with Natalie Bollinger is still going on. She's dead, but I'm still taking the abuse because she never came forward and told the truth. Never ever bothered to find out if she was telling the truth. They didn't care. The people that looked at the evidence and verified that I was telling the truth. They never made a police report by their own admission. Andy Singer didn't make a police report. Is badass. She looked at the evidence, verified that it fucking exists. The stuff you guys pretend doesn't exist because you refuse to look at it. She looked at it. Yup, it exists. Dumbass. So, yeah, Wendell Mcphees, he actually had 2 or possibly 3 guns. Another 22 semi-auto, and he also, well, it had a really fucked up, broken ass stock. But the one that he had me go out shooting with, that was the 22 Cricket. It's not, obviously not a Cricket. The Cricket is a brand name, but most people just know that style of single shot as a Cricket. It's a 22, it's for blinking, it's specifically designed for teaching kids gun safety. You know, we had a lot less school shootings back in the day when nearly every school had a gun club. Another one of my gun customers. When I told you that I never in Nebraska went without access to a firearm, I always had access to a firearm. I had recordings with him. Scott DeCosta actually got to listen to those recordings. He promised me that he would not pursue Wendell Mcphees for smoking marijuanas, and he didn't. Wendell Mcphees later got busted in a different county for having marijuanas. I wanted to make sure that it wasn't in Dual County. He said it wasn't in Dual County. Why did I want to do that? I wanted to make sure that Scott DeCosta kept his word, at least on that. He did. They've never pressed charges against him. They can verify in those recordings, and because I knew that those things were being recorded, I was there the whole time with the recordings. They are absolutely admissible in court. And they follow the rules, regulations, and guidelines required for recording in the state of Nebraska. So in those recordings, I believe it was the same period of time. If it's not, and Scott DeCosta didn't get to hear those, well, he claims that he went through them all and that he listened to 70 hours worth of recording in a week. Did he? No. No. Obviously not. Well, that's the thing about having access to the internet. Since he didn't do nothing, well, if I posted it on the internet and he had access to it, and on the recordings it shows that he has access to it, yeah, it was wrong for Nebraska State Patrol to make me continue to go back to Dual County Sheriff's Department while they knew full well I was trying to press charges against, well, Scott DeCosta and turn in his officers. I had been in contact with Nebraska State Patrol. Nebraska Attorney General's office told me that that's who I needed to go to. It's who I needed to go to. And they pussyfooted around and sent me to all sorts of different stations, each and every one of them telling me it's not their goddamn job. When did they finally stop giving me the runaround like that? After the assault by Scott DeCosta and, of course, Nebraska State Trooper Lassen. And, of course, they dragged it out and made sure that these safety issues were not dealt with, were not taken care of, that my safety concerns were not addressed, and they weren't the only ones. Marcia Estrada did not address my safety concerns. Penny Cooper did not address my safety concerns. Megan Misigatis did not address my safety concerns. All 3 of these women are, according to Nebraska law, mandated reporters who have 48 hours to report these things. Did they report them within 48 hours? Now, since I came to them and told them about multiple crimes, Well, they better damn well have multiple occasions where they tried to turn crimes in. If you're going to tell me that you tried to turn it in April of 2020, and you're going to tell me that you tried to turn in other crimes in January of 2021, and there's also all the crimes in between that I told you about, including the crimes that you didn't make any effort to do anything about until 2021, why the discrepancy? Why is there so much time in between there? Why are there so many assaults being committed, and I am going to mandated reporters, and they're doing nothing to assist me. They're doing nothing to help me with the evidence, and they're going out of their way not to look at evidence when I am finally able to get them there in person to look at it, because I am having issues with sending it across the internet and cops and other organizations telling me that they can't see it. Meanwhile, I send it to, or forward it from there to people like Mandy Hughes. Mandy Hughes can see it. But did she ever come forward to write a police report? No. These officers got away with it because my so-called friends helped them to get away with it. My so-called friends helped them to get away with it by not listening, by being busy giving me advice, telling me it's never going to work, and then telling me I need to be positive. No, you're being very negative. You're not even willing to fucking try. You have given up before you've even gotten started. You never tried to help because you never spoke up. Because you never spoke up. A false narrative that I am being victimized over to this day is still ongoing. I understand that you are angry that I posted up evidence that I told the truth and you fucking lied to me. I understand fully that you're angry about that, but I'm pissed off that I'm being abused over lies. You expect me to understand that you didn't come forward because your loved ones were being threatened. Well, guess what? My loved ones were being threatened before Natalie was ever fucking killed over a false narrative that there is no fucking evidence of. I have been repeatedly victimized over slander that there is no evidence of. I want to see the proof. I want to see the proof that Natalie Bollinger told me that she didn't want to talk to me. I want to see it. When you tell me that Natalie Bollinger claimed that she didn't want to talk to me, and then I sent hundreds of texts, and then I went to her house and blocked traffic for hours, prove that to me. If you're going to say, Natalie asked you to stop talking to her when you were asking her to call off the dogs. Well, you're right. That did happen. When did that happen? That happened in 2017 after repeated assaults over Natalie Bollinger fucking lying. She lied about me being arrested. I showed you the evidence that I was taken to the hospital. You got to see my arrest record. It's got multiple things on there that I was arrested for and never convicted. You know why I was never convicted? Because they were bogus fucking charges. You get lots of those when you're a homeless man. And a whole lot more if you're disabled on top of it. If they can call you mentally ill, you are victim number one for every cop in America. No matter how good a cop you want to believe him to be. Another one of my customers was Sandy Fromm. That was the very first night out at her farm. She was afraid of her brother. She was trying to get stalking charges against her brother because he kept going out to their family farm. Meanwhile, she was actually stalking Toby Smith. And of course, the records that the Dual County Sheriff's Department is in possession of shows that Toby Smith, this big Billy badass biker, who was trying to get me in contact with people who would literally kill Ted Bollinger, and I told him no. Well, did he kill Sandy Fromm, or did he go to law enforcement? He went to law enforcement, of course. He went to Dual County Sheriff's Department about Sandy Fromm. They already knew that Sandy Fromm was stalking Toby Smith. Actually stalking. I can verify that she was stalking and that she tried to get me to help her to actively stalk him, and I refused. I also got recordings that prove it. There were audio recordings made on that little device that was given to me by Daniel Apathy, who also, no matter how much you guys want to pretend that these people are a figment of my imagination, the fact that their voices and their stories are on my YouTube channel, it shows that they're true. It shows that these people do exist, that they're not figments of my imagination. You can see I'm not a fucking ventriloquist. So Sandy Fromm, my first night out at her place, she had me, well, she had I believe it was a little .32 revolver, and she had me carry it around. Well, I left it in the holster and carried the holster. This is, of course, after the whole Natalie Bollinger dying thing. And she was in that if I was going to be on the farm at night, that I had to carry a gun. Just in case of a situation with her brother. Well, I'm not sure if she knows this, but I'd let her brother shoot me. Between killing another human being and dying myself, I'd rather die. When I finally threatened people, that was August of 2018. That's almost 2 years after the first claim that I was threatening to kill Natalie and her family. This is almost a year after her death. And I sent the evidence to people who didn't try. They didn't try to turn it into the cops. By Dan Fabert's own admission, he didn't try to turn it into the cops. By Dan Fabert's own admission, he never made any effort to turn it in to the cops or to make a police report. Megan Misegatis, by her own admission, never tried to make a police report. So why is it that even with evidence that I'm telling the truth, that none of you will look? Because you don't care. The people who hate me, oh God, they're looking for any excuse they can. Any word in a sentence that they can take just that word to court. Yeah, they'll try that. That judge, the great thing about that recording of that court date is that that judge literally committed felonies. Joan Hansen and those recordings show that she literally committed felonies. Those recordings show that these officers had motive and intent. But nobody is going to listen to someone who is called mentally ill. Why is it that all of these professionals that you're supposed to go to won't do anything? Because they know that nobody's going to listen to someone who's called mentally ill. That's the reason that these people are mandated reporters. It's also the reason that we're supposed to go to these people, is because it's supposed to be their jobs to listen to people who are called mentally ill. If we are abused, we are supposed to go to professionals. Marcia Estrada said it was Penny Cooper's job. Penny Cooper said it was Marcia Estrada's job. Penny Cooper refused to do her job, and I didn't find out that Marcia Estrada was the boss until I was trying to turn both of them in. Marcia Estrada fucked up and backpedaled. You don't get to do that. That shows me that you've lied. That shows me that you're being dishonest. And that shows me that you're being deceitful. Not okay. If you're going to tell me something and then you're going to backpedal when it comes to the police, or you're going to go out of your way to be as vague as possible and stay that way, refuse to answer those questions. Why is it that between, well, if they didn't do it, then they can say no. But instead of saying no, they didn't do it, they ignore the question altogether. Or try to turn it into a different question, or pretend that that question is about another situation. It's not that I didn't go to people for help. I went to exactly the right people for help. And Mandy Singer in the recording with her. It's called, I think it's Missy Bruce Region 2. It's nice having a Mandy Singer, a person who I know in real life. Not some fucking fake like Megan Mcphees, who's going to continue to have that title. And that title was used to deny me my rights in court because my rights to an advocate were fulfilled. No, they fucking weren't. Megan Mcphees wanted to bitch about that. Now, unfortunately, that was the second half of the conversation. Out of a 3-hour fucking argument, and I only got a little over an hour of it recorded because this thing died. Now, before, I didn't have the ability to turn an audio recording into a video recording and put it on YouTube. I do have that ability now. It takes for fucking ever. Even the fast route takes for fucking ever now because my computer is so slow. It was running for about 45 minutes when it's not plugged in. Now it's running for maybe 5 minutes, and then it automatically shuts off and doesn't turn back on again, despite the fact that I charged it up to 100%. So I won't even get much into my phone out of that. Also, my phone is down to 5% battery, and this video is not going to last very long. It's going to die on me just like the last one. I had 4 of these things. They're external battery chargers because I didn't go charge them up today in Starbucks, and I used them yesterday and last night, and all day today. The one that I had, it's dead already. It was down to like 4%, and now that it's charged my phone up, that 4% that was on the battery, I'm plugging it into my other external battery. You can see the light blinking. That's because it's so dead that it's not actually going to charge. That's telling me that I need to plug it in. It'll do that for about 20 seconds and then shut off. So I'm going to unplug it because it's just annoying. It's recorded in my stuff, Wendell Mcphees. Of course, it's not on YouTube. Wendell Mcphees stuff I tried to keep as private as possible. A lot of the stuff that he talked about and a lot of the stuff that he was aware of, you know, that citizens of Chapel will fucking skin him alive. So, try to keep that private. He knew about a few situations that I spoke about. He verified those situations. Matter of fact, some of them, like the situation, and this explains fully why Rihanna Ingersoll hates, God, what's his name? His son's name is Nick Polius. All right, John Apuleius, that's what it is. I knew his son Nick. He was a friend of mine way back in the day, sort of. He was actually just a loudmouth little prick, but whatever. We'll get back to the story. Rihanna Ingersoll hated John Apuleius. She also hated Stretch. That's David Roop. And she also hated Doug Cowden. She hated Doug Cowden because Doug Cowden raped her. Now, why did she hate David Roop and John Apuleius? See, I still have difficulties because there's a lot of Johns. I don't know a whole lot of Nicks. I know a few, but not a lot. Anyway, according to Wendell Mcphees, John had seen Doug molesting his daughter. And I'm not going to give you her name. She's a grown adult now. So John saw this. And as a mandated reporter in the state of Nebraska, he didn't go to the police. He went and told Wendell Mcphees, and I have that recorded. Wendell Mcphees also did not go to the police. So, despite the fact that everybody in Nebraska is a mandated reporter, I do have it recorded that Wendell Mcphees did not do what a mandated reporter is supposed to do in the case of child abuse. John Mcphees did not do what a mandated reporter is supposed to do in a case of child abuse. And because they did not, well, that was a lot of repercussions. That meant that Doug Cowden got to continue not just molesting his own daughter, but his stepdaughter, Rihanna Ingersoll. He got to continue doing those things. And according to the law, because it's mandated reporting, absolutely every single rape and molestation after that point is the legal fault of Wendell Mcphees and John Apuleius. Now, Wendell Mcphees, even knowing that I got bogus protection orders on me, still had no problems putting a firearm in my hands, a .22 long rifle. He wanted to make sure that it worked. He didn't want to go out and shoot it himself, so he told me to take it out to the farm and shoot it, and I did. It shoots exquisitely. Whoever realigned the barrel did an excellent job. With Sandy Fromm, that first night that I was there, I did check out the little pistol, the part that she was saying she was having a problem with. It needed lubed, no problem. Her dad was a Marine, and he's got a lot of guns in the house, and even though he's dead, the guns are still there. Sandy Fromm still has access to them, despite the fact that there's a protection order between her and Toby Smith. Now, me and Wendell Mcphees talked a lot about her stalking Toby Smith. Wendell Mcphees was well aware that she was stalking Toby Smith. That she was all Toby Smith, Toby Smith, Toby Smith, Toby Smith. But Wendell also felt, because Toby Smith is a playboy, that Toby Smith kind of deserved it. So Wendell Mcphees is making excuses for a stalker to stalk a man. He's not coming forward about it to the police. He wants to talk to me about it, though. Of course, that's how I ended up with all these recordings with Wendell Mcphees. Not just the 70 hours that I gave to the sheriff. I could potentially have 1,000 hours of recording with Wendell Mcphees. See, that's the great thing about having the audio recording device. I mean, it's a curse that it's a pain in the ass to try to get it downloaded onto YouTube or Facebook. But if I can download it to YouTube, I can share it to Facebook. That works great. There's pros and cons of everything, isn't there? But having this, because it's not recording video, it takes up a shit ton less space. A whole lot less space. I might have gotten 20 hours at most of recording time. And in the same amount of space, I probably have easily 1,000 hours of recorded audio. The audio is extremely important. Why is it that these officers, they were willing to only give up the camera evidence that didn't have audio recording? Now, those officers with their body cams, I was never allowed access to that. The crimes that they committed started before they ever showed up. The crimes that they committed started with entrapment. And they kept up that entrapment to try to frame me for a crime I didn't commit, because people were so sure that I did it, because I was begging for help. I must have killed Natalie Bollinger because I was begging for help. I must be guilty of killing Natalie Bollinger because I was prevented from going to a court date that I didn't even know I fucking had. Oh yeah, but that also happens to be because those officers did not observe my rights or their duties in that situation. And also the fact that the only help that I was supposed to have at that point was Jeff Ritter. Jeff Ritter was the only person who was trying, sort of, by telling me what to do. He's like, you got to get paperwork. If you can get paperwork, then we can get a lawyer. Well, I got the paperwork, and he tells me, all right, well, I am on vacation until the 1st. It's the holiday season. They're not going to do anything anyway. All right, good. I mean, I'd never had a protection order before.